Well, Minister, I'm not going to blame you for the rain that falls, because certainly we can blame you for lots of things, but I don't think we can get around that one in terms of that you have the power to stop the rain. But like Deputy Harty, I have ongoing problems, and I want to acknowledge first you work well with me as the Fianna Fáil spokesman of the OPW Flood Relief, and we share a lot of views, and I don't just want to make that public and put it on the record here today. We won't discuss Lough Funchina because you did arrange a meeting and we know what has to happen there. It's a very, very difficult situation for the farmers there. I just want to mention briefly Tarman-Barry on the Roscommon-Longford border. You were good enough to come down there recently and you've seen the problems that are there. And I'm just wondering, when do you think that work can be tackled, how quickly we can get going on it? I know we have to go through a procedure. The other area of concern to me is Jamestown on the Roscommon-Leitrim border. Again, we're talking about the River Shannon. And as you know, that we have difficulties there that we do need to deal with, and we do need to carry out some works. Now, I know the issue of controlling the water levels in the Shannon, it's difficult, I accept that. I know that you've worked well and the agents have worked well with you. I understand that. But of course, the fear we have now is that this flooding is going to expand, and as you know yourself, up around Clondown and South Roscommon, more and more land is being covered with flooding. I know it's been happening for years, but really and truly, I suppose in relation to Tarman-Barry and Jamestown, and I do understand that in relation to those areas, you can't maybe carry out work in one area and not carry it out in the other because the water will back up again. So I do understand that. But basically, where we are in terms of that Tarman-Barry work, and maybe a comment or two from you in relation to Jamestown, which, as I said, is on the Leitrim-Roscommon border. And again, there's a lot of flooding occurring in that region.
You'll be relieved to know that we're not blaming you for the rainfall anyway.
Blaming for the rainfall. If I go in reverse order and take Deputy Murphy's first, and then I'll take on with Deputy Harty. You can acknowledge in placing these questions in front of me, you asked me particularly in Clare, what protection measures put in Clare, and you've brought up a number of other issues, so I'll try and address them in thing. I would like to thank the Deputy for raising this important matter. At this time of the year, as we approach winter season, it is an opportunity to consider our preparedness as a country to respond to severe weather events such as flooding. I am aware of the impact of flooding can have on individual households and communities at large. Since taking up my current position, I have visited many such communities that have first-hand experienced the scenes of devastation and flooding can cause. On the 3rd of May in 2018, I was delighted to launch 29 flood risk management plans, an investment of £1 billion in flood risk over the coming decade. These plans are the output from the Catchment Flood Risk Assessment and Management CFRAM programme, the largest ever flood risk study carried out in by the state. The plan set out the measures to propose to address the flooding risks nationally and include 118 new schemes to protect town, villages and cities nationally. These include 19 in the catchment area of the Shannon, in particular the addition to the scheme already underway in Athlone, which is due to be completed in 2021. I and the government are working extremely hard to ensure that the greatest possible progress is made over the next number of years on the continued deliveries of this valuable ambitious programme of investment in flood defence and flood risk management measures. The commitment of £1 billion in the National Development Plan is the objective is clear sign of how high a priority this is for government. 12 of these have been prioritised as part of these 10-year programme engagement with local authorities in the ongoing in relation to Springfield, Ballinasloe, Neenah, Longford, Rahan, Castleconnell, Mohill, Leitrim, Clonaskee, Carrigan-Shannon, Killaloe and Limerick City, Kings Island and its environments. The OPW have completed schemes at Portavola and Banagher that the deputies will be aware of, and I'm also working in Roscommon with Roscommon County Council at the Athlete scheme. Along the banks of the Shannon, procurement is scheduled to commence in the coming months to appoint engineers consultant for design, development and planning of flood relief schemes for Limerick City environments, Leitrim Village and Carrigan-Shannon, County Leitrim, Killaloe, Ballina and County Clare, Tipperary. Local authorities have been supportive throughout the funding from the OPW under the Minor Works Mitigation Coastal Protection Schemes and put in place over 440 local-scale flood protection projects, protecting in excess of 6,800 properties nationally, The increase of funding available for my office, for the Office of Public Works, from 2 million to 5 million per annum is a huge endorsement, I know, by the local authorities. And I encourage all local authorities at this time, because sometimes local authorities out there and local councils don't realise there is money there for minor works. And at this moment in time, people are not coming into my department. I'd like to see more in relation to that. This year, to the end of September, the average rainfall is 820 mils, that you did mention, Deputy, in the areas of the Shannon catchment. This year, we've had a lot more rain. We've 1,050 millimetres of rain in certain areas. That's over 230 mil above average. This is 9 or 10 inches of rainfall above average. Government also established a Flood Risk Management State Agency Coordination Working Group in 2016, supporting existing plans in place to address flood on the Shannon and in catchment, ongoing cooperation with the state agencies involved in the River Shannon. The group has taken a number of significant decisions since its establishment, including target maintenance activities at a number of locations, trialling the lower levels of the Loch Allen, study to explore management flood risk at the Callows, and a study on the cause, degree and the rate of restriction downstream of Party Weir. I would like to thank all those involved in the working group. The group has also considered a feasibility long-term maintenance programme of the River Shannon. Work done includes Madden's Island, Meelick Weir, where tons of silt and trees and other materials have been removed, along with 6 other areas along the Shannon we've done work. Removing the pinch points will drop levels of the Calls, benefits in the environment, the wildlife and the farming community. I'm hoping that report will be with me in the no distant
All right,
future.
Minister, we'll come back to you. Deputy Harty.
Thank you very much. Minister, my specific questions were in relation to Springfield Clonlara, and when will the feasibility study be carried out to deal with the pinch point at Plassey? Because it makes common sense, if you're going to deal with flooding in the Shannon, you deal with the lower river before you deal with the upper river. But that doesn't seem to be happening. You're dealing with issues around Meelick Weir, but you need to deal with issues further down the river where the obstruction to the flow is at its greatest. And the second point, Minister, was in relation to Ballycar. When or at what stage is planning to address this issue, or what meetings have you had in relation to addressing the flooding at Ballycar? Because if that rail line is going to be interrupted year on year, it's going to make the service unreliable. It's carrying 400,000 passengers a year, and that is growing every year to link Limerick with Galway. So the two issues really are the feasibility study in relation to the pinch point at Plassey and the Ballygar rail line flooding.
Well,
Yeah, okay, well, look, very quickly, I know I've only got a minute. Again, you might, if you can, give me an answer in relation to when you think that work will be done in Tarn and Barry. I do accept that you probably can't do Tarn and Barry and Jamestown together. One has to be done before the other. Again, going back to the point Deputy Harty has made in relation to the levels of the river. But you mentioned something there about the low-cost scheme. And you did indicate that maybe local authorities aren't using it to the extent they should. Now, you often see a side road that's flooded, and really it goes back to the Shannon. It's where the water makes its way around through drains from the Shannon, or whichever way the flow is coming as it's making its way to the Shannon. Are you saying that roads such as that are possibly entitled to get funding from that low-cost scheme? Because I think that would be very important, that local authorities would put in all of those roads in terms of maybe solving those flooding issues, because often it's only a bit of a drain that has to be cleaned out or whatever. And secondly, again, one other thing, and I'll finish on this, there was to be a Bord na Móna pilot scheme about taking out more silt. Where are we with that, Minister? Because I think there is a capacity issue still with the Shannon.
Thank you, Deputy. Minister.
We're getting longer. But in fairness to Deputy Harty and thing, we've about 7, maybe 8 schemes going on in Clare at this present time, where they're either gone to planning, some are going to construction, some are going out to consultants. In relation to the area where Geraldine Quid living, in relation to Clonlara, I'm very, very hopeful that a report will be in front of my desk in the near distant future to make a positive response. And you know, I've also looked at the pinch points in that area as well, and I'm working with my department in relation to that. The question on the railway line, I can't give you an answer because I didn't know it was coming up today, but I can tell you is constructive in relation to that. I'm hoping that we'll have something positive in relation to that. As regards the minor works don't protect roads unless there's a culvert on the road that may be blocked. Yes, you can advance in relation to that. The relation of Tarn and Barry, I was up there, you know, I've seen it first hand. We'll apply for a licence and look in relation to the works of that. As you are aware, if we do Jamestown first, we have problems down in Tarmanbarry, and I'm not prepared to do that. I'll do one, I'll look at one, and then the possibility of doing the other. We have to work with Water West Ireland in relation to that. But I will stress to the deputies, like, we are in high waters normal, and this time of the year, the average rainfall is higher than normal. And I always say, and people criticise me, we're only 3 days away from a flood. But at the same time, the level of work that's taking place down the Shannon, right across the Shannon catchment, and including below at Limerick, is enormous. And people just have to see the work that we've done at Mealy Quare. When you see the tons and tons of silt that has been taken out of there, and peat that has been taken out of there, other material that has huge success. And if I could, Cloncarla, at Mealy Quare, the depth of the area there was 2 foot. It's now back to 10 foot, which it always was. Built up here for lack of maintenance on the Shannon. And when people say we should have a single agent for the Shannon, we shouldn't. We tie ourselves up in red tape and legal stuff. What we're doing in collective as a group is massive, and it's moving things forward. The pinch points that we all so want to talk about nowadays, there's 22 pinch points in the Shannon, 16 are significant. I'm waiting a report to come on my desk and I want to see those pinch points, because what we will do, removing those 6, will drop the levels of the Shannon downstream of Athlone, right down to a yard, Dr. Hartley. You're talking an inch and a half, or sorry, a foot and a half. You're talking about dropping the level of Shannon. That, for the local farmer, to the local business, to Birdwatch, to all the people that would benefit from that, is enormous. This is something that this government is committed, putting huge money, and I have to praise the Taoiseach, because there's not a week goes by he's not on to me, asking me different questions, Richard, and making sure we get to the top of everything. It's not easy, but we're working together, Glegg. But I want to acknowledge Deputy Murphy and but particularly Deputy Murphy, who has worked close with me on the Shannon over the last number of years, and has given me no problems, only work with me and trying to help me enhance projects going forward, and I thank him for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.